Have you ever done something small for someone, without expecting anything in return, only to discover later that it changed your entire life? This is the story of a young waitress who shared food with a lonely old man every single day. To her, it was just an act of kindness. But one morning, when two black SUVs pulled up outside her little diner, everything she thought she knew about her life, and about the man, was turned upside down. Pause, with a hint of mystery, stay tuned to Whisper Fable. Because this story will leave you questioning what you think you know about kindness. The sun hadn't yet fully risen when Emma Blake, a 25-year-old waitress, tied her apron around her waist and stepped into Maggie's diner. The bell above the door jingled, greeting her like it always did. Life in the small town of Clearwater wasn't glamorous, but Emma had never asked for much. She worked long shifts, barely made rent on her small apartment, and carried the weight of bills that always seemed to arrive earlier than her paycheck. Still, Emma had a heart that refused to harden. She smiled at strangers. She refilled coffee cups without being asked, and she never once ignored the quiet old man who sat in the corner booth by the window. His name was Walter, though he never said much about himself. His gray hair was unkempt, his clothes often wrinkled, and his hands shook slightly as he lifted the coffee mug. Most people overlooked him, assuming he had no money. Maybe they were right. Every morning, Emma slid him a plate of scrambled eggs and toast, sometimes bacon when she could spare it. Walter would look up at her, eyes watery, and whisper, "Thank you, dear." She never added it to his bill, never told anyone. It was their quiet secret. Her manager, Clara, warned her once. "Emma, you can't just be giving away food. This place barely makes enough to stay open." But Emma shrugged it off. "Clara, it's a plate of eggs. He looks like he hasn't got anyone left in this world." And so the ritual continued. Day after day, Emma fed Walter. Day after day, he returned, always in the same booth, always with the same small nod of gratitude, engaging tone shift. But here's where it gets interesting, folks. What if the person you're helping isn't who you think they are? Keep listening to Whisper Fable, because what happens next will blow your mind. But life wasn't kind to Emma either. Her mother had passed away years ago. Her father was never in the picture, and she dreamed of going back to school to study nursing, but couldn't afford it. Some nights she cried in her tiny apartment, staring at the unopened letters demanding overdue payments. Still, when morning came, she put on her smile and served others. One rainy afternoon, as Emma slid Walter his meal, she noticed his hands trembling worse than usual. "Are you all right, Walter?" she asked softly. He smiled faintly. "Just old bones, dear. Don't you worry about me. You're too young to carry other people's burdens." But Emma did worry. She worried about everyone except herself. Weeks passed. Rumors spread around town that Maggie's diner might close down. Business was slow, and Clara confessed one evening while balancing the books, "If something doesn't change, Emma, we'll have to shut the doors by Christmas." Emma's heart sank. The diner wasn't just a job. It was home. It was where she had built her small family of regulars, truckers, school teachers, tired mothers who needed a moment of peace. And it was where Walter found his one warm meal a day. That night, Emma stayed late to clean, even though she wasn't asked to. Walter had already left, walking slowly into the misty evening, his shoulders hunched against the wind. She whispered to herself, "I'll figure something out. I always do." But the truth was, she had no plan. It was a cold Wednesday morning when it happened. Emma was wiping down the counter when she heard the deep rumble of engines outside. Two sleek black SUVs rolled up and parked right in front of the diner. The glass door swung open, and three men in suits stepped in. Their polished shoes clicked against the floor, completely out of place in the shabby little diner. Clara froze. Emma's heart pounded. Everyone in the diner stared, and then Walter walked in behind them, but he looked different. His shoulders were straight, his clothes clean, his presence commanding. The men in suits flanked him respectfully, as if waiting for his command. Emma dropped the rag in her hand. "Walter," she whispered. He smiled at her, his eyes twinkling the way they always had. "Good morning, dear." The diner was silent as Walter stepped closer. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a folded envelope, and placed it gently in Emma's hands. Her fingers shook as she opened it. And inside was a check, not for a few dollars, not for 100, but for enough to pay off her debts, keep the diner open, and send her to nursing school. Tears welled in Emma's eyes. "I don't understand," she whispered. Walter placed a hand on her shoulder. "You saw me when no one else did. You fed me when you had nothing yourself. I didn't tell you who I was because I needed to know if kindness still existed without strings attached." The suits behind him exchanged glances. One finally spoke. "Mr. Whitmore has been the head of Whitmore Industries for 40 years. He chose to step away for a time to see the world differently." Emma gasped. Walter wasn't just an old man. He was a billionaire. The diner erupted in murmurs. Clara's jaw nearly hit the floor, but Emma could only stare at Walter. No, Mr. Whitmore, she said through her tears. Why me? She asked softly. Walter's smile grew warm. Because the world needs more nurses like you, Emma. And because kindness deserves to be rewarded. That morning, everything changed. The diner didn't close. Emma went back to school. And Walter? He still sat in the same booth by the window every morning, drinking his coffee. Only now, when people looked at him, they didn't just see an old man. They saw the billionaire who had chosen a waitress's kindness over the world's indifference, and Emma? She realized that sometimes the smallest plate of eggs can open the door to the life you were always meant to live. Kindness done in secret never goes unnoticed. Life has a way of returning it to you. If this story touched your heart, show your love, like, share, and comment your thoughts below. And don't forget to subscribe to Whisper Fable for more stories that remind us of the power of kindness.